Hey guys, Bitcoin is currently at $11,038.81. Now that is a ton of money. One Bitcoin costing over 11,000. Like just a couple of months ago, back in May, June, people were freaking out because it was reaching $3,000. So you can just imagine the Bitcoin community is pretty much just freaking out. Now, whether or not it's a bubble, I don't know. I can get into that a little bit later. But the amount of media hype and attention it's received is huge. People have never heard of cryptocurrency. People that have never heard of Bitcoin before are going nuts and they want to invest in this Bitcoin. But I think a lot of people are wondering, what the heck is Bitcoin? How does it have value? And derivatives of that type of question. So today I hope to answer a few of those questions and weigh in my opinion on what I think about Bitcoin a little bit. So Bitcoin was created in 2009 under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. And initially Bitcoin, the purpose of it was to bypass a lot of the middleman financial institutions. So what I mean by that is to reduce transaction fees and to speed up the time in which I could transact money or in which I could pay someone across the world. So I can pay someone in Singapore in like 10 minutes. I could transfer hundreds of thousands of dollars if I wanted, with relatively small fees compared to other institutions that do take care of that. And a very attractive aspect to many people who use cryptocurrencies is that it is pseudonymous, meaning it's not completely anonymous. People can see how much money each wallet or address is spending, but they don't know who the address is linked to. It is decentralized, and it is void of government regulation and government manipulation. But I think the key aspect here is decentralization. And to kind of just briefly explain what decentralization is, I drew a couple of diagrams. Centralization, one can think of the government as a centralized authority institution in that specific region where there's top-down information processing. Or YouTube. If I want to watch a YouTube video, I'll be requesting from a central server that held at YouTube headquarters, in which they will be sending information back out. Something simple like that. Decentralized is the idea where there's a couple of centralized institutions which communicate with each other, but each centralized institution also has nodes or people that connect to that network to request information. So maybe if you think of cell phone companies, Verizon, T-Mobile, or maybe it's credit card companies such as Visa, Discover, America, like those kind of companies. These are centralized in the sense where they don't have a complete centralized authority like the government, but they are centralized in that sense where we're going through them to spend money, to make payments, etc. So Bitcoin takes it a step further. Now, Bitcoin is decentralized, but I think more accurately what we can call it is distributed and decentralized. And what I mean by that is every single node that connects to the network is the central institution, the authority. So pretty much everyone is the government in this sense, where everyone is connecting to the Bitcoin network. Everyone has the ledger of transactions, everything that goes on in the Bitcoin network, everyone has it that connects to it. So there is no one, there's no two, there's no five, there's no 100 people that are in charge of Bitcoin, essentially. Everyone that can connect to it is a part of that network. Now, a lot of people ask, well, if it isn't centralized, what prevents people from double spending their money? Because really, that's why we rely on centralized authorities. That's why we rely on central banks. Is I have to rely on the central bank to stop people from committing fraud, right? If I can't spend my $5 twice. If I spend $5, I have $95 left in my bank account. I can't say, oh, but I want to spend $100. I can't trick them because the bank keeps track of that information. And although fraud does still happen with centralized authority, it minimizes to that extent. Now, how does Bitcoin do it? I want to just give a few. It's key. You have to. I'll explain a few key concepts to help understand it. But what the technology is called, which is inextricably linked with Bitcoin, is the blockchain. So to understand that, I'm just going to explain two things: hash functions and Merkel trees. Now, don't freak out with the new terms. I know a lot of times when people start explaining Bitcoin, you're like, what is this guy talking about? I'm not a computer scientist, and you have no idea. I'm not a computer scientist either, but conceptually, there are easier ways to explain this. So looking at this diagram here, what I hope to convey is that to understand what, I guess, quote unquote hashing is there is a digital file, any type of digital information. It could be a really big file, it could be a really small file, but what happens is it gets hashed. And when it gets hashed, there's a set output that comes out of it. If I just changed one digit on here, if I changed the 6 to a 5, or if I changed the F to a D, if I change anything in this original digital file, this thing changes completely. And as you see here, I wrote one-way function. Having this output here, it is nearly impossible for me to go backwards and be able to get what this original digital information was. So what it does, just to recap, is you take a small file, not a small file, you take a file of digital information, hash it, and you get a set output, which is typically a lot smaller in file size and information memory size. Okay, so knowing that, what happens next with what Merkel trees are is that we hash this information, we take a digital file, we hash it into an output, a set output, and then these set outputs, let's say we have hash A and hash B, these are hashed together and you get hash AB. Hash AB can be hashed with another hash, and you keep hashing until you get a root. A Merkel root is what they call it. So to understand, you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with blockchain? But to understand what that does is Bitcoin, every transaction that takes place is recorded in a blockchain. And it uses this hash functions, it uses those hash functions to be able to create these digital structures of information, essentially. So this is a very simple drawing of a blockchain. And let's say each block contains the Merkel root. Essentially, the blockchain is a very big Merkel tree incorporating many Merkel roots here. So let's say I spent $5 and that gets put into the blockchain. I spent $5 worth of blockchain. I transferred it to someone in Portugal, all right? And now that is recorded in the blockchain. It knows the wallet that I had, I've spent $5, and let's say I had $100 worth of Bitcoin in there, and I spent $5. So I should only have $95, but I'm a malicious node, and I want to spend $100 more. And I want to trick the network. But what happens, let's say I try and spend $100, is this new transaction that I try to do that is actually not legitimate, it gets hashed. That output is now hashed again with the other Merkel roots. And immediately, because this information is distributed across every single person's computer or node that connected to that network, immediately it knows that that hash function is incorrect, because each output, as I said, matches with a very specific digital file. So very quickly, just from the hash information and the amount of, and how it utilizes the Merkel roots and stuff, it is very quickly able to know, the network knows that this is an illegitimate transaction. So that's pretty much how the blockchain works. That's how Bitcoin avoids the double spending problem. And that's how I am able to transfer money to Singapore in a matter of minutes with people working on this. And I can explain mining more in a different video. But that is essentially, I guess, some of the core aspects of Bitcoin is the hash functions, the Merkel trees, the decentralized network where there is no one centralized authority. Now, a lot of people have been calling Bitcoin a bubble. If you want to know more about my opinion on that, I have written an article. You can check it out. As well, I would be careful with investing in cryptocurrencies. Really look into it before you just jump in. I think cryptocurrency really is the future. Blockchain is the future of currencies. The application of blockchain is also incredible. You can use it for voting. You can use it for contracts, property rights. There's limitless applications of the blockchain. So I urge all of you guys to look more into it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to look into it and try and answer those questions. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.